Hey guys, welcome to your final project of your continent, your Art Around the World unit. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create your own map of your own country that you are going to design. Okay? So, we've looked at countries all over the world, we've looked at different kinds of art, different artists, but now it's your turn to create the kind of art and the country that you want. So, for this project, you will need a plain piece of paper, any color is fine, and also something to draw with. I'm going to be using colored pencils and markers, but use whatever you have, and let's get started. When starting my country, I like to start with a pencil. That way, if I make a mistake, I can erase it. But if you're feeling adventurous and you just want to start with a marker, that's okay. Just know you can't erase it, so be careful. The first thing I have to do is decide on what shape my country or island is going to be. So you can just make it a random blob, or you can make it look like something specific. I'm going to turn mine this way, and I'm going to make my island or country, see if you can figure out what it is. Any ideas? Mine is going to be an ice cream country because ice cream is one of my favorite foods. So you can do something creative like this. You could turn it into another shape, really anything you want, okay? Once I have this, I then need to give my country a name. So I'm going to do mine is going to be called the Cone Country. Okay, because it's an ice cream cone. The next thing I need to do is start putting things in my country. So I'm going to be drawing something called symbols, which are little pictures to represent what things are in my country. So for example, maybe I want to have some rivers. So maybe these lines here are actually rivers that go from one side to the other of my country. So if there are rivers, how would people cross? They will need a bridge. So I'm going to draw two little lines, and these are going to be the bridges of my country. Now, you might be thinking, how will people know that? Well, here's the next thing we're going to do. In one of the corners of your picture, you want to draw a square or rectangle. This is going to be called a map key. And this is where you're going to show what all of your different symbols mean. So, to start, I'm going to draw my two little lines, and then I write the word bridge. So now we know that these two little lines mean that these are bridges, okay? If I'm having these as my rivers, you'll see it better when it's colored. I'm just going to do a wavy line, and that means it is a river, okay? Now, maybe I want these to be connecting to a road. So maybe I'm going to draw a dotted line where my road is. Okay, so down here I would put dotted line equals road. Okay, I'm going to add a couple more symbols, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to color it. So I have now created more symbols in my picture. So I added things into the cone. My straight lines are sidewalks, my triangles are gardens, and my squares are houses. So I'm going to start coloring this now. You could color it however you want, but just make sure. For example, if I make my bridges brown here, they also need to be brown in my map key. So if I make my river blue here, it also needs to be blue right here. Okay? So, I'm going to continue. I'm going to make my gardens green. Try to use a color that when you think of this thing in real life, that color comes to mind. But there are a few things that maybe you just want to get a little more creative with, like houses. Houses come in all different colors. So I'm going to make my houses pink. There also might be things like the road, where you're like, well, the road is normally black, but maybe you want your road to be a slightly different color. Maybe you want it, or the sidewalk, to be purple. It is your country, so you can design it however you want. That is the really cool thing about it. So when you are, oops, I forgot my house here. When you are getting close to being finished doing all your coloring, I would also recommend that any lines you have left in pencil, that you also trace over with a pen or a marker to make them more interesting. So for example, all of my words down here and just the outline of this here, I'm just going to trace with a black marker, which will make it just look a little bit nicer. Okay? Now, the last thing to think about is how you're going to color your title, and also if there's anything outside of your country. So typically when there's an island, there would be water outside of it. So if you want to pretend that there's water outside of it, and draw little lines or even a little fish to represent that there's water out there, you can do that. Okay? So, whenever your country is finished, I really hope you'll share it with me and I get to see it. I hope you have